What's up, boys and girls, and everything in between? Duuz-Diz-Din here with DuckTales, Season 2, Episode 5, titled Storkules in Duckburg. This is another episode review, and this time it's a very Louis-centric episode, which is actually fairly interesting, as we had one not too long ago. So it does make me wonder if these episodes are being played out of order, just as the first season, or this was actually planned. I know a lot of people are clamoring for the addressing of Della Duck's situation, but it seems as though the writing staff have other ideas in mind. Now, this episode is kind of on the plain side, so there's only really so much to talk about. Louis wants to start up his own corporation, but Scrooge kind of calls him out on the fact that his business is all about making money. And in order to really start a business, you need a solution to some kind of problem people have. And Louis really doesn't have anything of the sort. Scrooge calls out that Donald, knowing that there's a housing shortage kind of going on, he put out an ad for the spare room in his houseboat, the place where all the kids were living, just in order for Donald to make some extra money. And when Louis asked for a small loan in order to actually get his business up and running and on his feet, Louis says some preposterous amount like $1,000. Some Donald Trump BS going on right there. But, Scrooge just laughs in his face and hands him a quarter. However, on Donald's side of things, we find out that the person who answered Donald's ad for a, roommate was in fact Storkules of Olympus, who had been basically cast out by his father Zeus because he had unwittingly unleashed a horde of harpies. I was about to say something really messed up. A horde of harpies upon Olympus, so Storkules was cast out until he could become a proper adult. Meanwhile, Louis sets up his whole business and kind of coerces Huey into being part of it in return for being a chart maker and some such nonsense. It's a really weird way that he gets Huey on board. But again, Louis really doesn't have any kind of solution to anything. There's no real thing for him to try to fix that would gain them money. Meanwhile, Storkules is showing that he's not that great of a roommate by almost burning down Donald's house. And, Donald pretty much lays the ground rules for Storkules, including the fact that Storkules needs to get a job. However, they're suddenly beset by the same horde of harpies as before. I don't know why I keep saying that. Horde of harpies. But they come for Storkules and start wreaking havoc. Meanwhile, Louis just kind of has a little bit of a sabbatical, spending what little money they have on just, some downtime. However, it's interrupted by the Storkules bursting in with all the harpies in pitched mortal combat, and they start attacking the various children around, with Huey and Webby, doing their best to fight them off. Saving people, helping them out here and there. And so, with Storkules pretty much sending all the harpies away, they're given a reward by the establishment, and, Louis kind of cuts in, bringing Storkules into his fold and giving the place a bill for $500. And Louis proclaims that, they're in the business of stopping harpies. And so they basically put out this ridiculous commercial. It's absolutely hilarious. And whereas Webby kind of wants to actually get to know the harpies and see what they want and why they are the way they are, Louis completely blows it off. So that pretty much tells you that's basically the crux of how this episode's gonna end. But Louis, with dollar signs in his eyes, is just like, hey, what do the harpies want? Storkules tells him it's just like they go after what's most precious to a person when they try to make off with Huey's Junior Woodchuck guidebook. And so they just go around saving people's most prized possession from the Harpy menace. And Louis basically ends up swimming in cash. However, how they're getting rid of the Harpies is the most ridiculous part, as they're just stuffing it in a closet in Donald's room. Like, straight up, Donald is right there, and there are the Harpies. How he doesn't notice it is beyond me. However, we come to find out later on that they pretty much gotten rid of all the Harpies, so no more Harpy business. Louis kind of calls out Storkules on this, saying it's just like, if there's no more Harpies, there's no more business, and you don't get paid. As we come to find out, Louis had pretty much spent all of the money on, various knickknacks and, gifts to give away, and, a little bit of a way to make even more money on the side, but without more Harpy business, they can't make back their revenue. And so Storkules is crushed, knowing that he will be unable to pay for his rent. Louis tries to sneak into Donald's room to unleash all the Harpy, but Storkules is just like, hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Because Storkules is just too nice of a guy, very oblivious. And when Louis tells him, it's just like, hey, without this, you won't be able to pay your rent, you won't have anywhere to go, Donald will kick you out. And, Storkules is just so infatuated with Donald that he just doesn't want to give it up. But Donald ends up waking up because of all the commotion, and when Louis professes that, oh, it's just a pet in the closet, Donald's like, hey, I said no pets, you're out of here. And he opens up the door and just unleashes all the Harpies. And I love this little moment where we have this little Days Without Accident board, and Huey just takes off the number once he sees all the Harpies unleashed. It's great. It's so memeable. But Donald completely blames Storkules for all of this, and Storkules professes that, Donald's friendship is his most precious thing, so naturally, because of that, all the Harpies just make off with Donald and the boat. Louis realizes that this is all his fault, which people, Huey and Webby just call him out. It's just like, yes, it is your fault. It's all your fault. It's the greatest thing. And, Louis has to come to terms with, the ultimate problem was him, and he teams up with Storkules in order to, rescue Donald. And I love this moment, because Storkules takes Louis and just, I kid you not, like Thor and Mjolnir, he spins Louis and just uses him to propel him into the air. Like a nice Thor callback, but it's just such a weird situation for it. So they managed to get on the boat, save Donald, and using Louis' beloved merch, they're able to guide the Harpies in order to land the boat. With Donald even saying that he will help Storkules find another place to live, and with the new boundaries for personal space and how to be a good roommate, Storkules should make out okay. Once they're on the ground, they round up all the Harpies, and Scrooge makes it back from a little business venture in Cape Suzette. We come to find out that he had actually started a lemonade business, which is what he originally recommended to Louis in the beginning of the episode. However, Scrooge laments the fact that he was never able to figure out a good, cost-efficient way to transport all the lemonade. We come to find out that Webby had actually been trying to train the Harpies, and we found that they had a very widespread love of lemons. And Louis proclaims, it's just like, hey, did anyone ever think to ask what the Harpies want? And Webby just decks him right in the shoulder then and there. It's just like, dude, I tried to tell you. It's just like, always listen to Webby. Always listen to Webby. And so Scrooge starts up his lemonade business, getting the various lemons shipped from Cape Suzette to the plant where everything is turned into delicious lemonade. There's no emissions, there's no extra costs, and they can pay all the harpies in lemons. However, unfortunately, there's one thing they haven't thought of how to take care of, and that's all the harpies trying to steal Scrooge's delicious lemonade, which is, stated by Louis, a work in progress. This was a fun, simple episode, but it's nice to see the continued ventures of Louis trying to start his own business to be like Scrooge, because that was kind of the thing with the miniature people episode, and with Louis basically trying to avoid adventuring and all that. It's just like, well, Louis wants to be able to contribute and be his own person, and he's trying to go the route of Scrooge, which makes sense because he's a little money-grubbing miser in and of himself. However, he's always looking for the quick buck, not really willing to really put in the good, decent, hard work, which is ultimately what Scrooge got his millions. So I feel like that's just going to be the running theme of Louis-centric episodes, where it's more him just trying to swindle money through various business ventures. Very much like Eddie from Ed, Edd and Eddy. He's just always trying to plan for his next big cash grab. So, fun is always great to have a Louis episode because he's always such a fun character in and of himself, but not the biggest episode, honestly. It's forgettable, but again, Disney kind of wants those, one and done kind of episodes here and there. Their whole thing is reruns, and they just love them because you can air them without really having to add on to your costs. That's what got Wander Over Yonder canceled, because they were just like, oh, we get more views off of reruns than anything else. We don't need to spend money making more, so that's what happened there. But regardless, hey, tell me your thoughts on this episode in the comment section below. Do you enjoy, kind of mellow episodes like this, or do you want to get back to the real action and the real mystery of how they're going to get Della Duck back? Or would you like to see the return of one of their enemies, such as Magica Dispel, or some other such enemy? It's been a while since we've seen the Beagle Boys, so who knows when their next appearance will be. But again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you liked what I had to say here, leave me a like. If you didn't like what I had to say, leave me a dislike, and type out a little comment on what I'm doing wrong and how I can fix what I'm doing wrong, and subscribe for more episodes of DuckTales. Thanks for joining me.